Hi everyone, listen, I want to tell you something. This is how I used to draw a feet just a week ago. It's not a very good foot. Now we're just doing a little bit of research and a little bit of practice. This, even though it's a little bit sketchy, is a lot better. It's a much better foot and I want to show you how to do it. My name is Javi, I can draw, and this is how to draw feet. Now the first thing I did, because I really had to do it, is that I had not a lot of reference on how to draw feet. I kind of knew how to draw one, I knew kind of how it went, but I didn't have any knowledge or any real practice. So what I did was get a lot of reference images and started doing some gesture drawing to get a better understanding of how to draw feet. Okay, here we go. Okay, so we have, let's do the bottom one. This thing comes here, then comes, I'm trying to like, what type of volumes am I looking at? Maybe this pose is not the most useful. Like I'm seeing this here, it doesn't look bad, but I'm not deciphering anything, honestly. Like I can see that this is a thing that comes here. Is it probably a shape like this? And the talon that comes like this way, is it like the cylinder here? Or are, well, you know, the rest of the fingers are like, below this shape, so it doesn't matter. At least not on this pose. So, it's not looking that nice, is it? With all these volumes I'm trying to do? Okay, so next one. Okay, let's see. Maybe this one will help me a bit more. Now I'm going to do the one on the top. Okay, I'm going to pause this. This is the first thing that I'm noticing, even though it's wearing pants. Okay, I paused a little bit. I want to decipher this a bit more before advancing. Now, I know that the fingers I'm pointing up in this pose, so I don't know if that matters a lot, but what I'm seeing here is that you see this line here, like the triangle that I did in my really bad sketch. It ends not at the fingers, but where the fingers begin. Okay, let's see. So if this were something like this, and this is like this curved shape thing here. So if the fingers are going up, but you can tell that it is the one that it is the fat finger, what's the name? The toe. The toe, it's going up and is the one that leads with strength from the fingers. I don't know if you can do that with the pinky, but in this particular case, now I can tell that there's some sort of curve, like the one on the hand. You know that in the hand, like you have your hand like this and they all have a different angle. I think that the same thing applies here. There's going to be something curved here because the toe is looking, is like a profile, but the pinky, you can kind of see the front of it. So it's something like this. I know there is a bump here, the bone, so something like there is a shape like this. It doesn't look exactly like the one on the photo because, well, I'm improvising a bit. But I don't know what to do with this thing. Is it something like this? It looks nothing like the one on the picture, does it? Well, let's move on to the next. Let's see what else I can figure out. And this one helps. Wait, I'm going to pause it. It doesn't matter that it's a minute. Let's try to figure this out. I'm not going to do this, I'm going to do this. So I can see like there's this initial volume here for the ankle. Now, so the toe is it's like this straight line here, maybe it's the angle, but the pinky goes off to the side just a bit more, right? Like the toe is following a parallel line. Okay, so I have to do this, and then comes this. Well, the pinky is like this curved thing, isn't it? I don't know if I'm getting the best reference I can get. But when I want to, I stopped this one because, see, there's a thing here that I think that it's important. It's not what I did on this one, where the top of this shape was in the middle, but I think that the top of the shape leads from the center, or at least not from the center. Look here, it's not from the center. It's all the way to this side. Like the biggest bump goes directly into the toe, and then the rest of the toes, they go that way, right? Is it something like that? Does it look like it's something like that? You know what I'm saying, right? Like if I don't know if I can explain it. I was pointing at the screen. That was really stupid. Let's move on to the next one to see if I can figure something more out. Well, let's do it. Just because it's an angle that, you know, I'll have to learn anyway. So I can see this. This is the talon. And then... well, let me think about this. Okay, I'm going to pause again. Let's look at this. Now, if you're looking at this from the other side, you will see that, as I showed you on this drawing, that the biggest bump is going to be on top of the toe. Now, if you look at this picture here, you will see that on the other side, on the opposite side of the foot, that the biggest volume is here, is leading to the pinky, not to the toe. Like all the bump for the toe, it's on the other side, and all the bump on the pinky is on this side. So it's like this curved shape. I'll show you what I mean. Let's see if I can draw what I'm trying to say. Okay, so silly shape here. Now you can clearly see, because of all the wrinkles, this, right? Now, if this were a volume that we're following all the way around, this is where the toe should be, and this is where the bump of the toe should be, and it coincides, like it's moving towards the bump on this side. And from this side, that is the less that, you know, if you're looking at the feet from the foot from the front, you don't see much of a bump. But all of that is actually here. So it's more like this shape, like this curved shape. I don't know if it actually applies, or maybe it's just the pose that is misleading me. With this thing I discovered, I thought that the best thing I could do was try to see if anyone else was thinking the same about my theory on how to draw a feet. So I went and tried to find the best tutorials and information and anatomy on how to draw a feet. I tried to look on the web for first some reference and anatomy and see if I was right. The thing is that I am kind of right, but I'm going to still give you one video about how to draw, not how to draw, but anatomically describing the feet. This is a video by, it's a YouTube channel called eLearning, and it explains what is the bone structure of the feet, which in this particular case I think that is super necessary to know. Maybe not on other cases of other parts of the body, but here for the feet I think it's super necessary because, well, the feet is so bony, you need to know it, right? After that I thought, well, I have to now start looking for tutorials to see what other approaches to drawing feet there are. I found a great video, and this one came out like just a few days ago. This one is by Cynics, and it kind of confirms what my theory about drawing feet is, but it also gives you just a great hint about how to draw that particular curve on top of the foot. That is there's a certain asymmetry between the bones in the ankle. So the bone that is inside is just a little bit more up. So that kind of defines, it leads you towards that curve on the top of the foot. It gives some other hints about how to make them look a little bit more dynamic, and some advice on the toes. And it's a great video, you should watch it, and it's pretty much really, well, it's really entertaining, so it's good. Then I thought like, well, maybe I should look for some more traditional tutorials on how to draw feet. And I found, well, one is by Jasa. What I like about this video is that he has some sort of 3-volume approach, which is 1 volume for the heel, 1 volume for the mass of the foot, and 1 volume for the toes. And in certain cases I think that it applies and it works very well for like a first overall approach, a really gestural approach for the foot, and then you can start working more complex shapes like the ones I was talking about. So it's a good video, you should watch it. And last, there's just one written tutorial by Nemonoa. It goes through some more complex volumes of the foot, and it gives some advice on how to draw them. I liked it a lot as well, so that's why I'm recommending it. So, was I right? Because I think I was. I think I still am. So the next thing I did after doing all this research was to, well, kind of my own tutorial to show you all my findings so you can use them yourselves. So, what you can see here is that I have a series of pictures of feet. Now the first thing I started to think was, well, what is the most, what I started to think is like, why do feet look like that? I know that it would be like, it's like deformed hands or whatever, but it's not. What I thought is like, what is the most stable, the form that evolutionary you could have, and the most stable volume in the universe is actually a pyramid. Is the foot a pyramid? Yes. Yes, it is. Now, if you put the top of the pyramid in the center of the cylinder, that would be your leg, you can see right here that it kind of applies. I'm not adding the toes to that surface because when you are standing, you're not actually using the toes to press. You're using them to get some balance, but you're not putting your weight on your toes, unless you're, of course, like walking. So let's take a look at these examples. You can see here that I have drawn several pyramid shapes that would apply to a fit in the most like general and basic shape. Because usually when you try to think about a foot, you think about something like a doorstop, but it doesn't really apply, and it kind of makes a difference in order to define the overall shape of the foot. Especially, look in this particular case, where you can actually kind of see the triangle. You can see the triangle here, I'm pointing, you can see the triangle here that, you know, you can draw here that is going to lead you to the top of the pyramid here somewhere between these two bones for the ankle. So, well, you can see when the foot is up, it's kind of the same. But now, well, the feet is actually not a pyramid. It is a much complex shape that in its overall volume, it looks like a pyramid. So I started thinking, well, what are the parts that actually you press against the floor when you're standing? And if you look at a foot, it's going to be the I have to show you this. Sorry, I have to show you this. I'm sorry, I'm taking my shoes off. You're going to have to watch my feet again. It's going to take just a minute. Okay, let's hope that the camera focus. The parts that you're actually using when you're standing, it's not like this part isn't. It's going to be this part here. It corresponds to the bone that leads to the big toe, and it's going to be this part here. All of this arch here that belongs to the bone that leads to the pinky. And of course, you're going to use your heel. So it's going to be this 1, 2, 3. The foot is a tripod. Kinda, because this is an overall surface that you're pressing against, but it has the overall basics of a tripod. Let me show you what I mean. If I show you this here, well, the purple cylinder is going to be the ankle. The red shape is going to be the bones that belong to your big toe. And the blue one is going to be the bones that belong to your pinky toe. So if you start following, you can see in these images how it, the places where you're actually pressing the foot. And you can already tell, like if you look at this one, you can already tell, give me just a second, that these two and the position that they have is what actually leads the shape of the foot. The kind of bump that you have on the top part of your foot that that is kind of hard to understand. Well, it is actually based on the interaction that these two bones have. Of course, there's a big bone in the middle that is kind of going to help with that curve, but you can already figure that out if you figure this two out. And I'm going to show you on some examples so we can go through these bones so you can see it in other angles. See here, when you see the bottom of your foot, you can see that you have the cylinder here that is pressing this part of the bone that is pressing, and this part that kind of leads all the way towards the heel. Same thing here. I have a lot of examples, but it's okay. Same thing here. Here you can see from prominence of the pinky toe bone, and you can see that it leads to the cylinder, and you can have this leading the shape of the top of the bone. And what's interesting about this, and I'm going to show you right now, is that these two are what define your footprint, because since you don't have actually anything here on this part, it's going to make the foot take this curve here and then go back to the heel. And that is what defines this curve right here. I don't know if I'm filming this, but it is what defines this curve right here. And this thing is straight. Well, why? Because of this right here. Because this bone doesn't go too upward. It is why one part of the foot is flatter than the other. I have, some other examples here. You can see like prominence from the heel and how it would look from this side. And here is the walking. Well, you kind of get the idea, right? I know that it might look like it is hard to figure out, but it is not. Now, if you stop thinking about this tripod shape and we go on to more of an overall shape for the top part of your foot that is defined by these two particular bone structures, we're going to be looking at something like this, which is more or less like this twisted rectangle that if you look at your foot, you can clearly see that. And here I have some examples here and whatnot, and you can see actually, if you've seen the video that I showed yesterday, the link is going to be below for anatomy, you can see that actually this bone right here is not actually as plain as I'm making you see. It actually goes just a bit up, but the base is just the same, and it helps a lot to just think about it like if it's a bone that is straight on the floor, than to think that it goes a little bit up. That's just more when you're feeling a bit more comfortable with drawing feet. So I have here some examples of how that shape would look on different positions. I think that the best one to look at it is actually this one, because come on, check it out. You can see from right here, you can see from where the feet start by having this shape define this this part of the foot, and it kind of solves itself. Like once you have that, once you understand this shape, it's pretty easy to figure out the rest. Now, well, I'm going to show you that right now. If you actually, let me see, if you put them together, it's going to look like something like this. I know that what you're actually seeing are like 4 different geometric shapes trying to form one geometric shape. That might not look like it's the easiest way to figure out a foot, but when you understand what each part does in the overall shape of a foot, it's a lot easier to see what you're going to be doing in the end. Like if you understand all shapes, it's not that hard. So I'm going to try to draw on top of them. I should let you know that I'm not good at toes yet, but that's just a matter of practice. So if you're going to do this shape, if I'm going to be based on this that I'm seeing, well, it's kind of going to be like this, and this is going to be the shape. What I'm trying to say is that maybe you don't have to learn to draw, like use all of these shapes when you're doing feet. But well, depending on the angle that you're drawing the feet on, it's good to know, because you're going to know which bone is prominent and what it's going to be doing and how the other parts of the foot react from that perspective. So yes, it is useful. So let's see, I'm going to do them pretty quick and pretty rough. So I have to divide this in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, kinda. The toe would be here. Like I don't want to waste a lot of time on toes, so they're going to be like super ugly. I almost drew 6 toes on that one. So this is going to be here, is going to be up. Remember Cypress video from yesterday, link below, that they tell you that when from this part, from the thumb side, the inner part of the foot, that this is going to be like the 2 ankle bones are going to be on a really tilted angle, which also helps when you're drawing a foot. If you're drawing the leg and then you just draw this part, this kind of wrench, as the video says, before drawing the foot, this tilt already helps you to get this angle for the top of the foot right. So I take that away. Does it look like a foot? It does look like a foot. Same thing applies here. This is a bit more complicated, I believe. So, well, I'm not going to put a lot of effort on the toes. Sorry. It's going to be something like this. So this should be, I know that I have this as reference, but, well, I'm cheating a bit. It's not that bad. It's never bad to use reference. But, you know, with these shapes that I just described, well, it does look like a foot. It does feel like a foot. Like, this is something you can draw and get away with. And I'm saying it that way because I still have a lot of practice, because I only started paying attention on how to draw feet, well, just, 3 days ago? So, yeah, I still have a long way to go. But I think that this is the basis for getting feet right. The other part is actually getting proportions right, which, well, I have a lot of homework to do regarding that. So, well, from this angle it is pretty easy. You just, well, let's just do this and see what happens. Well, this angle is pretty easy. And this, the tendons, they all go to this part. So there you have it. It looks like a foot. It's not like a super realistic foot, but it is a foot nonetheless. This one here, you have to follow the curve of this shape But remember that on the other side is going to be this shape. The ankle is going to be somewhere around here. The big toe is going to be somewhere around here. Does it look like a foot? Yes, it does. Oh, this is an awful toe. What the hell? Let's just do this. I kind of fix it, I guess. Let's try. How many more do we have? Just 2 more. These ones are the ones from behind. These ones are a bit boring. So, since this is the inner part, the ankle should be a bit like this. And this one is pretty like simple, right? Does it look like a foot? Yes, it does. And this one is here with the, here's the heel. And well, this one is pretty boring. Like there should be some sort of curve here. Like the angle should be here, it may be a bit up. This. Does it look like a foot? Well, in its sketchy, very, very sketchy way, it does. So I'm going to declare this a win! Well, now here's the thing. You see, well, I can draw a feet now. It's an okay feet. I can do better, but it just takes a lot of practice. The base is there. Thing is, most of the time, you're not drawing people just with their bare feet, unless you're like drawing Tarzan or something. Most of the time, they have shoes. Now, I was wondering if having this new knowledge about how to draw feet, if it would help me in any way to learn how to draw shoes. And even though it does, I still needed some actually advice on how to do it. So I went and I did some research and I did some findings, and this is, or even though it's very rushed, it's still very useful, but this is the easiest way, so to speak, to start approaching drawing feet. I know that it sounds a little bit cautious because, well, it is, it just need a little more practice, but this is how you do it if you want to start considering the basis on how to start drawing feet. This is it, take a look. Now, I'm going to be really honest with you. There's not a lot of great tutorials about how to draw shoes, but I found a great video that is just really short, but it has some really good advice in a YouTube channel that is called The Design Sketchbook. And it gives some advice not for illustrators about how to draw shoes, but actually how to really design shoes for shoemakers. And it has just a few advices for when designing shoes, so I'm going to show them right now to you, and I'm going to work on them to see if I can actually get a good shoe done. Now, the first advice is regarding heels. Now, when you are drawing high heels, the most important thing to know is that, and pay attention to this, I'm going to show you on the camera, is that the heel has to be inclined. Often we don't notice that this is inclined as it is, like following the natural shape of the shoe. Usually we think that this is like this, which actually is very unnatural, and it looks bad. Like, I tried to do a few sketches because I thought that it was that way. I was like, okay, I'm going to try to draw some high heels because I thought that the most natural thing about high heels is like, well, mostly the foot is exposed, so how hard can it be? And it can be hard, especially if you don't take that into consideration. Now, after doing that, I tried to do a small drawing of a foot, and the result is, like high heels, and the result is kind of like this, which I believe looks pretty good. The other thing that I want to tell you about high heels is that you have to remember that most of them end in point. so you don't actually have to spread the toes like you usually do, but you will have to like compress them, which is something that happens in reality because using heels is very, very uncomfortable. Not that I know, but that's what my wife tells me. Next advice, and this has to do with, well, these are two small advice that the video tells, and this talks about how well, when you're drawing shoes like sneakers, like Nike shoes or whatever, the heel is going to be just a bit up. And if you look at running shoes and that, you will see that that is true. Maybe it doesn't, like if you're drawing Converse shoes, that doesn't apply, but it still looks good if you just raise the heel just a bit. The second thing is about dynamic lines, and I'm going to show you what I mean. And that is that if you saw this, if you try to interpret this quick foot that I draw in like a 3D kind of drawing, everything will be more like this, like trying to get the shoe, like it will follow these lines. And if you try to design a shoe using this vertical lines, it's not going to look very dynamic. What you need to do is use this dynamic lines that you help to shape the shoe. So in perspective, they would look something like this. Those are the 3 advices that I took from this video. Now there, I found some other written tutorials and whatnot. You can find them. There's going to be a link below that will take you to a Pinterest page where there's everything there's going to be there, and some other tutorials for drawing shoes. Now, the other advice that I got from looking at tutorials and trying to find some advice on drawing shoes is that, well, the first thing that you have to draw is the sole, where the foot is going to stand on, and then you build up from there. So that's exactly what I'm going to do right now, using this shoe as a reference. I don't know if there's much to say about this, because maybe, well, maybe that's it. Maybe there's not too much science to drawing shoes, and there's more science to basically, well, using a lot of reference and learning how shoes look. But let's give this a shot. So, I'm not going to use this color. Well, let's use something like this. So the sole is going to be something like this, right? And then, where's my shoe? There it is. I'm going to have this bulk up to kind of here, right? It's more like here. I'm going to, like when I'm using shoes, no, they don't touch this. So shoes will end kind of like this. I follow the middle for the tongue. And, well, does it kind of look like a shoe? It kind of looks like a shoe. It's not going to be like the best shoe in the world, because I still need a lot of practice and a lot of reference. I know this was like this short video, but I still wanted to see if I could find anything new about this, about how to draw shoes. Truth is, I'm a bit disappointed with my findings, because apparently, well, there is no secret besides, you know, just lifting the heel a bit, and you know, the dynamic lines that you have to use when designing the shoe, like limiting it, or you know, just splitting the parts of the shoe. I don't see much else, and well, apparently there's no secret but to practice a lot. Does it look like a shoe? It does look like a shoe. It is honestly the best shoe I've ever drawn. It's still not a good shoe, but I'm going to get there. So, did I do it? Did I learn in 1 week? Will you learn with this video? I think this week was a great success. I'm actually very proud of all the progress I did this week. I still had a lot of practice to do. I still had a lot of drawings and a lot of angles to practice and get better at. But I understand now how and why feet are shaped like that, which is like really important. So I want you to keep practicing as well. I hope that you found this video useful. My name is Javi, I can draw, and I'll see you next week on the next video. Bye!